say that he was walking to the party, was this actually at the wedding venue?
No, he was not in the wedding venue. He was in the restaurant. And basically, he must have came through, went right. It looked like a target that he was going right for this person. So I feel terrible for him.
Did he dress him by name? Did you get the sense that they knew who?
Didn't hear anything. He just came out and said.
What he said.
Yeah, what he said was the children are safe and free Palestine.
And here we go again, another shooting by an alleged left-wing lunatic. On September 20th, 2025, at the Skyview Country Club in Nashua, New Hampshire, a shooting occurred. One person was killed and several others were injured. There was a wedding going on with about 100 guests there, and there were people dining in the Prime Sky restaurant at the country club. People heard a shot ring out, and it turned out that the shooter, 23-year-old Hunter Nadeau, a former employee of the country club, had just shot an employee of the country club near the restroom before proceeding into the main ballroom area.
And it was a chaotic scene. There were more than 100 people at the country club here behind me. And our sister station actually spoke with the mother of DeCesar, that victim there. And she said he confronted the shooter, protecting his wife and his daughter. They were at the country club simply enjoying a meal last night. Now, just moments ago, the Attorney General's office identified that shooter, as you mentioned, as Hunter Nadeau. He entered the country club allegedly and fired several gunshots with a handgun last night. DeCesar was shot and killed, and 2 other people were wounded. There is no known connection at this time between Nadeau and the victim. Nadeau was detained on scene, and officials sharing just a short time ago that he has been charged with 1 count of second-degree murder for knowingly shooting DeCesar, and say additional charges will likely be brought for the additional victims. DeCesar's mother said her son was living at Sky Meadow, and she spoke of his character and the fact that he jumped in to protect his family.
Then there is no doubt in my mind there was an instinct, not a thought was given. He was facing away from the table. Like that. He was facing away from the table, and his wife and daughter were able to escape. And so they didn't know where he was. All this time, they didn't know he had died. They didn't know, what was going on. It's very convoluted.
At this time, the Attorney General's office says it cannot share any potential motives. But again, a suspect has been arrested and identified as Hunter Nadeau. He is going to be arraigned in Nashua tomorrow. For now, we're live in Nashua. Alana Flood, WMUR News 9.
And the person that was shot and killed was 59-year-old Robert DeCesare. He was at the Prime Sky restaurant dining with his daughter and his wife, and they were speaking about his daughter's upcoming wedding. He stood up when the shooting started to try to shield his family from the danger, and he subsequently died from being a hero, protecting his family. This is happening all too often, and what makes this story so important is the words that were said by the alleged shooter. Several witnesses in attendance claimed, and now it's several, it's not just one, and it's not like they just didn't like this guy, so they made this up. After the shooter entered the main ballroom area and raised his gun, he shouted, "Free Palestine," and "the children are safe," and again continued taking shots. As that was going on, a guest at the wedding picked up a chair and struck the shooter with it, knocking him to the ground, which probably prevented more loss of life. This country and the radicalization of the left, and that's what I'm calling it, needs to change. Hunter was a former employee there. He had worked there probably a year prior to this incident. And as far as we can tell, he never had any problems with anybody there. No one knows why he doesn't work there anymore. But why would he go there a year after he stopped employment with a gun and start shooting people? Is he, like the alleged shooter in the Charlie Kirk assassination, a radicalized left-wing lunatic? Has he been brainwashed by the left-wing liberal media that all conservatives are bad, all people are bad because they don't support Gaza and Palestine or what have you. This is becoming common in this country with mass shootings that we've seen where the shooter is either a transgender activist or just some liberal left-wing lunatic with a gun deciding that it's time to go kill some innocent people. The motives are unclear. Officials are saying, though, just because he allegedly said free Palestine and the children are free does not mean it was a crime of hate. Well, I'm here to tell you, if in fact he shouted free Palestine and the children are safe, yes, it is a hate crime because I would imagine that he thought the people there celebrating evening, celebrating a wedding, were not interested in his cause. The left-wing liberal media needs to be put in check to stop preaching propaganda from the Democrat Party that all people who don't support the Democrat causes are bad. They are single-handedly changing people's minds, especially young people, that you need to act, you need to become violent, you need to get in their face, you need to stand in the street, you need to fight. The agenda of the conservative Republican Party, the only agenda that conservatives have is to make the United States of America a better place. And the Democrats are doing none of that. They haven't done that for years. We've seen it over and over again. It's probably never going to be known if, in fact, this kid is a radical left-wing lunatic. But we do know this. After the Charlie Kirk assassination, the FBI announced that they had somebody in custody, then they released him. Then they had someone else in custody, then they released him. And now they have the alleged shooter in custody. And we've all seen the videos of this individual on the roof, climbing off the roof. We've heard all the stories. If he had a long gun with a scope, when he climbed off the roof, the gun wasn't there. So how was that gun found in the woods, wrapped in a towel, if he didn't have it with him when he climbed off the roof? We'll never know the truth. Is the suspect they have in custody really the shooter? Is he really a radicalized left lunatic? No one knows because we can't get the truth. They wanted to solve this case so fast because we all know Charlie Kirk was loved by millions. And he spoke his truth, and he debated college students on campus every chance he got to try to get his message across. And his life was taken for it. The radicalization needs to stop. Democrats need to get together and bow their heads because the hatred they spew is doing no good for the country. The separation we see before the two political parties is doing no good for this country. Politicians are bad on both sides of the aisle. Politicians are corrupt on both sides of the aisle. We all know this. But to have young people, especially, committing such heinous acts of violence and shouting words like free Palestine and the children are safe is only because they are being brainwashed by liberal propaganda. That is my belief. It will always be my belief, and it needs to end now. President Trump is trying his best to save this country from all the damage and destruction that the Democrat Party has caused over the years. And in my view, he is succeeding. They're whining and crying about deportations and ICE raids. Well, the agents doing those raids know exactly what they're doing and exactly who they're looking for. And we see all too often the protesters fighting back, trying to save the illegal immigrants. Those people aren't there just to be there. It's my opinion that those people are there because they're being paid to be there. They're being sent there to cause a problem, to show that Democrats will fight back. All they're doing is hurting us more every time we see a violent protest. And the shooter in New Hampshire, was he ever involved in any of that? We don't know. Will we ever know? I hope so. But the bottom line is this. How many times are we going to have to witness mass shootings, and then it turns out that the alleged shooter happened to be a transgender activist, a left-wing activist, somebody who hated the Conservative Party, somebody who was a staunch Democrat, somebody who believed every lie that a Democrat says? It happens all the time. And the problem is the media keeps pushing and pushing and pushing their left-wing agenda on the American people. And young people are the ones who are believing all their lies, and their lies are turning them into radical lunatics. And in turn, we're having these horrific shootings. So it's not about gun control, because this shooter allegedly had a handgun. It's about stopping the nonsense of trying to brainwash young people that Republicans are bad and Democrats are good, and you need to support the Democrat Party and fight against the Republican conservative agenda, which is peace, health, have a happy life, have money, make money, take care of your family, and just live a normal, comfortable life. That's what conservatives want to do. The Democrats want no part of that because they thrive in chaos. So until they realize that they're the ones that are wrong, these actions are going to continue. I don't know what it's going to take for these two parties to come together and put their heads together and come up with ideas to be one safe country. Will it ever happen? Probably not. But somebody needs to make some suggestions, because the violence that we're seeing is only hurting innocent people. And in this case, a man out celebrating, having dinner with his family, discussing his daughter's upcoming wedding, and some lunatic who decided now was the time to go to my former place of employment and start shooting people. Enough is enough with the radical violence that we're seeing in this country.